Alright, welcome. If you're new to the channel, my name is Elliott with Rickety Ski Reviews, and tonight we're going to be reviewing and reacting to the K2 Mindbender 99 Ti review from Ski Essentials. Now, they're reviewing the 2024 version, I skied on the 2023 version. These are the same ski, they just did a different top sheet, so should be pretty straightforward. Let me tell you about the skis. Now, the K2 Mindbender 99 Ti is kind of an interesting ski because right now you can buy it for really cheap. I put it on my top list for 2023 skis that you can buy right now at the end of season that are steeply discounted. Even though they're the same as the 2024, they just have a different graphic. So I put it as one of my top values, not only because it was inexpensive, but also because it's a great ski. It rails through the turn the whole way, it carves super well, it's wide enough that it kind of floats through things. I would kind of categorize it as a crud cutter because it really will kind of sink through and cut through wet powder you'd see in the Pacific Northwest, or cement, kind of snow, or anything that's just kind of been around for a while and isn't light and fluffy anymore. This ski really rails through that stuff. Especially when I was at Mount Hood, you get such different snow conditions based on either being at the top or the bottom in the snow. So like the top will be really firm and really almost icy, and then the bottom will be really soft. And I found that the K2 Mindbender did the best job of those conditions because it kind of just cut through both kinds of conditions. It's also got enough width, do a good job taking that Titanal, and they use the Y-frame to kind of distribute that weight so it's not too heavy, but it's still really firm. This was a really nice ski, and again, you can get it for a really good price. So that's why we're talking about it today. Excellent ski. If I remember correctly, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10, just because I feel like you really have to be strong in your turns and be patient with it. Like, you have to wait for it to hook, and it doesn't like to release its turns. But those are the downsides, and they were pretty small. I also felt like it could feel a little kind of chunky and heavy, but what you got in return is a really beautiful carving turn and a ski that can kind of carve through almost any condition. So there are definitely downsides, but it's a trade-off. So, decide, do you care about that? Do you care about it being kind of chunky? Or do you care more about it kind of cutting through any condition? And if it's the second one, hey, K2 Mindbender 99 Ti, very nice ski. But let's see what Ski Essentials thought. Normally they're pretty on the money, but you never know. Sometimes they go rogue, and Ski Essentials is trying to sell product. They're trying to move product. Every once in a while, they won't maybe talk about the negatives as plainly as I will. They'll kind of dance around it. But overall, I find these videos very insightful, have almost all good things to say about Ski Essentials. So let's see what they think, starting now.
Hey skiers, it's Bob with SkiEssentials.com. Welcome to our 2024 ski test. We've got a K2 Mindbender 99 Ti for you today, and just one of the smoothest, cleanest turning skis in this width range that we see on the market today. When they made some changes for it for last year, they really settled in nicely to the overall character of the ski by adding a full sidewall, more tail rocker specifically, and kind of altering this the metal Y-beam,
Okay, first off, I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration. I don't know if it's the smoothest ski out there you can buy. It's definitely like the most smooth once you get it loaded, and once it starts carving and tracking, sure, it'll rail through almost anything. But is it the smoothest? I don't know. I guess if you're playing fast and loose with that word. I would say that it's got like the most reliable turn. Like, once you get it on, it's really locked in there and feels stable, I guess, or feels like it's just gonna kind of plow through everything. But that depends on the skier. I read a really interesting comment that was asking like if weight affects that, and I think a lot of what affects how stable a ski is, especially a lighter ski is, through kind of bad conditions, is actually in your confidence and how much you load the downhill ski. So if you load that downhill ski and trust that it's gonna break through snow, it'll break through it. But if you get kind of nervous and back off of the ski, it'll lose its tension and kind of get caught up in the snow more. This ski, along with the Volcal M6 Mantra, doesn't take a lot of pressure to kind of cut through things. So if you're somewhere in the US or in Europe where you get really kind of different conditions based on the time of year or where you're on the mountain, this might be an excellent ski. But I don't know, different wording maybe than I would use.
That gives the ski its stability and its power. So a couple of small little changes really went a long way in making this ski feel a little bit more free-ridey, whereas before kind of...
Okay, you see something, and maybe this is a little bit from Stowe, like because you're in Stowe and because the snow's a little bit heavier on the east, right? But you've clearly got some pretty good powder there. You see how much it looks like they almost have to lean back on the ski to get it to kind of float like that? A lighter and maybe wider ski, like the QST 98 or even the Fisher Ranger, you don't have to do that so much. That's kind of the trade-off when you get one of these big, heavy, beefy skis, where yeah, they'll cut through anything, but also they have a tendency to maybe want to sink into the snow more. Now this one's a 99 Ti, so it looks fine, but just be aware of that going into it, that like you are getting a little bit of a trade-off with one of those kind of heavy, beefy, almost like Tonka truck skis.
Was a little bit locked into kind of a wider carving ski. Now it lines up better with some of the more freeride oriented skis of the group, mainly because of that tail rocker, but still keeps a ton of power with that sidewall, with that metal. Really, really great ski for advanced expert skiers who are looking for smoothness, power, and just a surprising amount of agility. A lot of that comes from the Aspen veneer wood core, so Aspen has a nice mix of lightweight and high energy. Then they add that Titanal Y-beam to the mix. So for last year and continuing on into this year, they kind of altered it a little bit wider of a beam in the front and then tapers to the middle, full width underfoot. And then in the rear here, they made kind of a more bulbous zone of that metal in the back, just more metal overall in the tail, and that really smoothed it out. I think it pairs well with that longer rocker profile as well, just to make this.
What's nice about that too, especially if you look at some of the older powder skis, like Zach had a pair of those Rosignol, I think it was a Soul 7, where man, those things were heavy. You know, because they have the Titanal all the way through it, and that is that wide and that long. That gets heavy. And he said that he didn't like skiing on them because they were too heavy. So seeing these new designs with the K2 Mindbender 99 Ti, where they found kind of these different constructions to keep that stable Titanal throughout the ski where it's important, but also use that Y-beam to kind of get rid of Titanal where they don't need it to keep that weight down. And yeah, I mean, like I've said before, we're kind of in the golden era of skis because you can get that. You can get a ski that is all mountain that's going to allow you to carve on the groomers, but also be wide enough that you can still enjoy the powder and not be kind of, I don't know, pigeonholed into just a carving ski. It's an amazing design, and from skiing on it firsthand, I can say that it feels really good. You get a lot more out of the ski than you're kind of expecting, and you get more of a kind of reactive ski than you would expect from a really heavy 99 Ti ski. Yeah, Bob's on the money. I mean, it's a nice design. There's no denying that. Is it as revolutionary as like a QST in my mind? Maybe not, but I think the design is really eloquent in what it's doing. It's giving you a lot of performance and also cutting down the weight simultaneously. I mean, that's awesome. It's maybe more of a soft-spoken innovation, but a really cool innovation nonetheless.
The ski feel like that sturdier all-mountain ski that is just really capable of high speeds and aggressive skiing. They also brought the start of the metal down a little bit further into the ski in the shovel here, and that just makes it less hooky and less catchy, just a little bit more easy to initiate your turn. So yeah, that metal really pairs well with the Aspen, goes along well with that full sidewall too. Just a graphic change for this year. Looking pretty sharp.
Okay, I've been like, he says these things and then he says it's just a graphic design, so that's what I thought. He's talking about how it changed on the 2023. What's really interesting is K2 has kind of been in the shadows for a while. I mean, which is funny given the context here. But yeah, K2's kind of been in the shadows for a while. The skis they've had have not been stellar. They had a couple of models that took off a little bit, but like, as far as carving skis go, they haven't been real popular if you look at them from like 2004 all the way to like 2012 to maybe even as far as 2016. And it seems like they just kind of took a step back and made a really nice design, because you look at these skis with the K2 Reckoner and the K2 Mindbender, you could buy each of those skis if you ski freestyle or you're looking for like a ski to put on the moguls. That's a great combination. And both of these skis retail for less. Not a lot less, but slightly less than everything else. It seems like they're really making a grab at market share and just trying to say, okay, nobody's skiing on our skis. What can we do to get these in people's hands and have people like them? And I think they're really trying to claw back some of that goodwill that they had from years ago. Because K2, back in the 90s when you were on straight skis, they were like every other ski, it seemed like, was a K2. And it seems like they're trying to get back to that. And I like that they're putting the design first. The Mindbender is a really nice ski. And certainly, like my friend Zach, it attracted him to the ski because he loves a deal. He goes, wow, you can get it for this price. And it seems like they were really intentional. They didn't just like kind of shotgun spray a bunch of skis out there. Like I've seen Rosignol kind of do that where you're just like, which ski is going to which person? Yeah, the K2 Mindbender and the K2 Reckoner, they were really specific about which need they were trying to serve and made two really nice skis that are kind of complementary to each other. So K2, I gotta give you props, and yeah, and Bob, this is really insightful on the design.
And then we see that profile kind of fit more into what we normally think of as kind of a traditional all-mountain ski. The rocker and the tail used to be, you know, shorter but more abrupt. So there used to be a little bit more splay, but a shorter overall rocker length. And that just kind of enhanced that on-trail personality, but didn't really help it in softer snow. So it was kind of locked in to that on-trail stuff.
I mean, that on-trail stuff is really important though. And like getting someone a ski that carves well, at least for me, or if you're looking for people who aren't just going in the woods, think about this. Unless you're like a freestyle skier, that's a kind of a different section. But if you are somebody who skis the powder, like I love skiing powder, who doesn't? But 65-70% of the days are on the groomers, so that's the user base you need to appeal to. The ski needs to turn well. I see so many comments when I was talking about the atomic bent saying, oh, well, who cares about that? And rightfully so, right? That's not their targeted demographic. But I care. I want it to carve well. And most people throughout the week want it to carve well. If you're not going to get powder days every day, no matter what like Instagram might tell you, not every day is a powder day, and you want the ski to ski well on the groomers. And so I like that they kind of took that carving first attitude and then from there kind of engineered it so that it could still go in the woods and still ski well off trail.
Not a whole lot of taper going on back here, pretty standard for an all-mountain ski. This is the 184 here, and we're getting a 19.8 meter turn radius, sorry. And a lot of that.
Okay, with the skiing, you see how they look kind of unsure of themselves, and every once in a while you see the downhill ski kind of wash out, and that's fair. East Coast powder is a little bit more tumultuous than West Coast powder, so I'm not critiquing that. I'm just kind of pointing it out. If you're not really confident on that downhill ski, it's not going to cut through things, and so you're going to feel a lot more of that kickback when your ski kind of runs through the snow. And especially in this ski is really heavy. Take kind of a note from a lot of like the big ski racers, especially like if you ever see people from Berkman Academy, they stand on that downhill ski and they trust it to cut through. So that would be my only critique. I know that, you know, it's hard when you're trying a new ski and you're just trying to get a feel for it, but I would say that you don't have to lean that far back and you don't have to stay off the front of your boots that much. You really should like just be a little bit more confident so you can get through that snow easier. But again, East Coast kind of gets a pass because not only can the snow be more tumultuous, the snow underneath the powder can be a lot more touchy. It's a lot easier to get ice that you don't even see, so.
Has to do with just that nice straight shape to it. There's that tip rocker there, not a ton of splay, pretty average, but really nice ski for mixing conditions and terrain and just allowing you to kind of be more creative with your turn shape and style. It does end up weighing a little bit. You know, again, this is the 184. We're over 2,000 grams, just under 2,100 grams here. So a little bit of heft, but it's remarkably agile.
Boy, that ski looked heavy on that 360. I mean, it is. They're dancing around some of the shortcomings. I'll jump into that more, but I can tell they're starting to tiptoe now. That's always my critique of Ski Essentials. They're very tiptoey when it comes to ski shortcomings. And you should be honest, the people are gonna own these skis. They're gonna ski on them every day. People are gonna know the shortcomings pretty quickly. And if you don't tell them that, I don't know, you're not gonna build trust long-term.
Very easy to initiate, hooks in smoothly.
Easy to initiate? No, that one I'm not so sure about. It definitely takes a pretty fair amount of pressure to get it going. Once it's locked in, it feels great, and it doesn't take a lot of like pressure to maintain the edge, but getting it in the first place definitely takes a little bit of doing. Not a ton, like not as bad as the Rossignol sender or the Rossignol Black Ops sender, but it's still there. It's noticeable.
Delivers power through the middle, and then a nice kind of predictable finish to the turn in the backside. So great tip to tail, all mountain, versatile, a little bit on the wide side for pure carving.
Okay, you can tell the vaguer he gets, the less he wants to talk about the bad side. It's real, you know, it's an all mountain ski, it can carve, you know, it's like, dude, just, come on, just tell the truth about this ski.
But that's why they have the 89 Ti as well as even narrower Disruption Series skis. So make sure you check out this 2024 K2 Mindbender 99 Ti here at skiessentials.com, and we'll see you out there on the hill. Bye.
Talk about the downsides. It's like he almost started to do it, and he's like, but you know, any shortcomings? That's why you have the 89 Ti. Okay, let's talk about the shortcomings since they're not going to. Great video overall, and they do a good job highlighting ski strengths, but they're not talking about any of the downsides here. So, okay, the K2 Mindbender 99 Ti, it has a great turn. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. That's gonna give it a high score for me because I care about carving. But it gets a little locked into its turns, okay? You set it up, you lock it in, it's there. It's gonna cut through and finish its turn, and it doesn't like for you to release and get into a different turn. It's also a little chunky, like it's a little beefy. You've got a wide ski, you've got the Titanal most of the way through it, minus the Y-beam. It can feel chunky at times, and it can feel a little tiresome if you skied in it for a long period of time. And it can take some pressure to initiate the turn. It's not like a super easy self-initiating ski like a Fisher Ranger is. This ski has some real beauty if you're an aggressive skier that likes to load the ski and kind of cut through things. But if you're looking for a ski that's a little bit lighter, a little bit easier to initiate, maybe a little bit more fine-tuned, this ski isn't quite that, okay? It's got some great things, like if you load it up, it'll rail through the turn and it'll feel really good and clean. But this is what I would describe as more of like a crud cutter, a ski that once it locks in will cut through most anything. I'm not saying I don't like the ski, but you should be honest about the ski's shortcomings. It's not real light, it is a little chunky, and it can take a little bit to initiate. And if you're somebody who doesn't like to be really locked into your turns, somebody who likes Fishers or Salomons, this isn't the ski for you. And that's okay, but just talk about the downsides so people who are looking to buy this aren't locked into something that they think is going to be magically wonderful. That's me telling you the truth and telling you the bad parts. It doesn't make me very popular. Especially people who've already bought the ski and then they watch the video. You go, oh, he's talking bad about my ski. No, I still gave this like an 8.5 out of 10. I love this ski. In fact, this is my favorite ski for skiing Mount Hood. And the ski that I recommend to a lot of people in the Pacific Northwest, they get that really heavy wet snow through different parts of the year. And I think that this ski really cuts through that kind of adverse snow condition. But for somebody who likes the trees or who's in the lighter powder in like Utah or something like that, and you like to kind of bounce between turns, this isn't that ski. This is a ski that's gonna lock into the turn and kind of crank through it. And that's okay, but I don't know, I'm beating a dead horse, but I wanna be honest with you. Because when I buy skis, I wanna know the goods, but I also wanna know the bad. Other than that, Ski Essentials always does a great job with their content. I just feel like there's this big gaping hole where they don't talk about the bad part of skis. And I guess that's where I come in. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sponsored, just here to tell you the truth. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're willing to like and subscribe, that helps my channel out a lot. But, you know, more than anything, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching my content. Thank you for everybody who interacts in the comments. I love making this kind of content to the point where I'm doing it at night. Really, I appreciate you guys. Everyone's super nice, and thank you so much. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.